Today we're going to go over one of the Microsoft Office Suite products. It's called Microsoft Teams. Teams was developed as a collaboration tool. Its chief competitor is a product called Slack. Have you guys heard of Slack?
I've heard of it, but I've never used it.
Okay, so Slack is it's kind of a persistent chat-based app. So there's chats that are based around different content. So a chat is like an IM, but it's persistent in that it doesn't go away. So you always have the historical record of these chats that you have. And we're going to talk about how this all ties together and helps people collaborate. And Microsoft has done some other things with Teams. So they've rolled some of their other technologies into it, and we're going to cover that as well. Like video and voice and SharePoint for file storage. Okay, so let me share my screen and get started here. And you guys should be able to see that now, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so the first thing to take a look at is your activity feed. It's going to be up here in the upper left. There's an icon that says activity. And this will show you all your kind of current stuff. So stuff you've worked on recently. So it could be a chat, could be in our case, we also use Teams as our phone system. So phone calls show up here and voicemails. So this is kind of like your Facebook or Facebook feed or your Twitter feed, something like that, where it shows you the most current stuff. So you don't have to go hunting for it. The next thing to look at is chat. So chat, we just talked about a little bit. Chat is it's a form of instant messaging, but like I said, it's persistent. So you can see here's a conversation I've had.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Keith Yates just messaged and he's asking where the link is.
It's in the bottom of the invite. So if he goes into the appointment itself.
Okay, let me just tell him.
There should be a join meeting link. We can resend it to him if we need to.
Mark's okay, sorry about that. Maybe just wait one.
Yeah, it's right there at the bottom. I'll copy it up. All right. Okay, so keep an eye out for him to admit him to the conference. And all right, so a chat is a messaging thread, and you can see I've got quite a few here. And these can be with people within my organization. They can even be with people outside my organization, doing what we call federation. So here's like a chat I had with Trevor. I can search for all chats that may have a certain content that I'm looking for. Like if I'm looking for a certain customer or something like that, I can type it in the search and it'll show me all the content in my Teams client that represent that name. So like, let's say I said servers, the word servers. I look for the word servers. All right, let's try server. Oh, actually servers came up a whole bunch of times here. So that shows me all the conversations and stuff I've had using that word. So let's go back to chat. So the way you can start a chat is you can go to the chat window and you can click on the little icon up here to start a new chat, and you can enter the name or of the person, and it will show up if it's in your list, or you can type even an external person's email address, like and it tells you it's external. So I could do a chat with that like that. So I'm going to do one with Trevor. And it brings me to my chat thread I've had with Trevor. And Trevor's going to respond. There we go. So like I said, like instant messaging, if I weren't active with him, I would get a notification in the bottom right of my main window. And I would also, if I missed it, it tells me I missed a conversation with Trevor in my email box.
What if you want to add one more person?
You would, you could do that. You could, so then it wouldn't, you know, it would become a different thread. But you come up to this little icon up here, and we were going to talk about that. But there's a little icon called Add People up here in the upper right. Do you see it? If I click that, then I can just start typing more names. And I can add as many people as I want.
Okay.
Like, let's go ahead and add Jeanette. Okay, so here's here's with Jeanette and Trevor in there. And if I wanted to turn this into a video call, I could do it, or just an audio call, I could do that. Also, I could share my screen with them. But I'm just going to continue chatting for a minute. Okay, so if I want to send a more urgent message, I got a number of icons down here. If I click the one that says, you know, this one just is for selecting your font type and things like that. You can highlight text, change your font. If I click the little exclamation point, I can mark a message as being important or urgent. So if I do urgent,
It's red.
what happens is when you do urgent, it will send them a notification. They'll get a pop-up notification at the bottom of their screen, and then they'll also get an email. It'll also repeat the notification every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. So it automatically nags for you if you mark it urgent. So let me go ahead and send this one. You can see it's all marked red and you can't miss it.
Yeah.
So you can also share files in a chat thread. So I could click this little attach icon and upload from my computer or grab it from my OneDrive. You can also just drag and drop a file. So let me bring some file. Okay, so you can drag and drop a file. Oh, Tabor or
John, he's still having a trouble getting on.
okay.
I clicked the meeting link. I have Teams, been using it for weeks. It's launched. When I click the meeting link, the launch app says I need to choose another application or download Teams.
Looks like he just joined the lobby.
Okay, gotcha.
He's in now.
So there
John,
might be,
when you were clicking at the bottom to do the urgent and the other things, I didn't see where you clicked.
you can't see down here. Can you see where my mouse is right now?
No.
It's at the very bottom of the screen. So maybe you need to scroll down. You may need to go over to your right-hand side and pull the scroll bar down.
Okay.
Probably not on full screen.
Oh, let me try the full screen. Oh, no, I guess I was. Okay. Oh, okay. I got a brief view of it when I. There. Okay. Okay.
So there's a number of icons down here below the chat window.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a file that I just dragged and dropped in there. You can see it's in my message window, but I haven't sent it yet.
Okay.
So to send it, I have to come over here and click the send button over here. Do you see the send button?
Yes.
So doing that, now it's sending that file that I shared. Now Trevor and Jeanette can click on it. Where this file gets stored in the background is actually in my OneDrive. So it uploaded this file to my OneDrive and shared it with them, which means that if it were a file that could be edited like a Word document, we could co-edit it. Since it's been shared from my OneDrive.
That's neat.
So that's where the file lives. It lives in OneDrive. Let me pull up OneDrive over here and show you. So here's my OneDrive documents. Should have been. Maybe I need to refresh it.
John, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, it's Keith and Hannah.
Hi, John.
Hey, thanks for joining.
Yeah, belated, unfortunately.
Okay, so we haven't done much. We've covered the activity feed, which is kind of like a Facebook feed. It just shows you your most current stuff. And we've gone over the chat feature where you can have one-on-one chats, or even in this case, we went ahead and added Jeanette to the chat I was having with Trevor, and it's now a three-way chat. See both up there. And we're right now going over some of the chat features like the urgent, marking it urgent, which will send out a message every 2 minutes to let them know you have an urgent message. So other things you can do is somebody sends you a message and you want to share this with some other people, you can hover over it. So when you're on a message, you're hovering over it, you can give it a thumbs up or a happy face or something like that. But there's also these little 3 dots next to it. If I click on the 3 dots, I can click on Share to Outlook, and this is kind of neat. It'll actually take the text of that message and put it into an Outlook email, and now I can email that to somebody if I wanted to. Just like that. So that's kind of a neat thing. If somebody sends you a big long chat message and you need to share that with somebody even outside your organization, you can use that option to share to Outlook.
Yeah, John, I have a question about that. When you're hovering over that and you go to the dots to share, is it only going to take that one part of the message, or
Yeah,
can it
in this
take
case,
the whole
it's just
string?
if it were going to be the whole string, I would probably just invite them to it. And you can invite outside people to be a part of a team. I don't know if you can do it in a chat. You can invite,
Okay,
invite federated people. So if somebody has teams, even if they're not part of your organization, if you guys have open federation, which I assume you do,
no.
if you don't, we could turn that on for you. Like J4 has open federation, so that other people that use teams in another organization, they can be invited to join chats and teams through what's called federation. So
Okay. Well, that's not an urgent matter, but you've answered my question. It only applies to the one. Yes, just to the one thing, not the whole string.
In this case,
because I've wanted to send multiple parts of a string, and I've ended up doing things like that, which
it's not as pretty.
Doesn't really work all that well. But thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. And they're adding features all the time to Teams, so they may come up with something like that. In fact, there's a new one that should be coming out in the next few weeks where you'll be able to pop out a chat thread so that it's not it's not a one window application like it is now. You can pop it into another window. It'll help you, multitask and manage multiple conversations at once. So they're adding that ability. And one of the other things is you'll see that right now Microsoft only allows 4 feeds in a window like this.
Yeah.
they're changing it from 2x2 to 3x3. That's coming in the next week or two as well. So you'll have up to 9 people in the video.
That's good.
So they're always adding stuff. So it's just gonna get better and better.
Yeah, excuse me, John. I had to answer the door to accept something from FedEx, and I missed the part about attaching a document. And is that the paper clip at the
So
bottom?
you can either do the paper clip and upload it from your computer or share from OneDrive, or just simply drag and drop it. And what I did was I showed a drag and drop. So I brought up a file explorer, and I really
Yeah.
just dragged that file right into that
Okay.
message. And then the other thing to note is it didn't share it yet. It put it into a message window, but it doesn't share it until I click this send button here.
Okay.
It'll just sit there
And-
forever until I click the send button.
Yeah, and you said something that was kind of interesting, reminded me of Google Docs. And that was that once you've got the document in this Teams environment, you can open it and multiple people can be editing it at the same time.
Yeah, so, and I was going to show that in SharePoint, but we can show it here. So let me find a Word document. Let me do that real quick. Let's see. Okay, so let me share this one here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open this up. No, I'm going to share it first. Hold on. Okay. All right, so that's been shared. Now I'm going to go ahead and, if I click on the 3 dots, I can open it in a desktop app, or I can open it in a browser. I'm just going to go ahead and open it in a browser. And then Trevor, why don't you go ahead and open it as well? Oh, you can see Jeanette's already in here. And here's Trevor. So you can see if I hover over that blue thing, I can see that's Trevor. That's where he's editing right now. He's actually typing, and I can see him typing as he does it.
Yeah, that's like Google Docs. Okay.
And then I can type stuff as well. And it's also set to autosave. So when you've got it in OneDrive, you make changes, they're autosaved. Though in OneDrive, you do have version history, so you can actually roll back to previous versions and stuff if you need to.
Okay.
So that's the co-editing, and it works with any Office document. It could be Excel, Word, whatever, PowerPoint.
That's great.
How did you get there again?
I literally just clicked the 3 dots and I said open in browser, but I could have said open in app, and it would have opened it in Word.
Okay. Thank you.
But once you have the doc in Teams and then you open it, regardless of if it's in a browser or the other options.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, you can co-edit. Yeah, either.
What that means is the other people can automatically in real time be collaborating.
Correct.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and that's true of any document that lives in SharePoint or OneDrive. In this case, SharePoint and OneDrive backend Teams. So if I'm in a private chat, it uses OneDrive. If I'm in a Teams library, it uses SharePoint, and we'll come back to that in a minute.
Okay.
I'm going to finish the chat thing, and then we'll move on to the Teams side of it in a minute here. Okay, so chat is more one-on-one or one to a few, let's say, more of a private conversation. Just to finish it off, you've got the emoji that you can use within the chat, and then you have GIFs or GIFs. I never know how to say it, but you can you can type something. It doesn't look like I have a lot of here to pick from, but you actually have a lot more than it's showing. Just type a word like happy or something you want to express, and you'll get a bunch of GIFs that relate to that word. Another cool one here is, so that's the GIFs. They have stickers, and there's a whole bunch of stickers, and you can search for them. But the ones I think are kind of cool here are the memes. You click on the meme and pick one, and then you can type a caption. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's cute.
And so that's, the chat's pretty intuitive. Like I said, if you've used instant messaging in the past or any kind of messenger app, it's right along those lines. All right, so moving on to Teams. Okay, so this is where it's more like Slack in this area. Basically, a team is a group of people that are going to share content and collaborate together. And it could be a department, it could be around a project, many different reasons why you would create a team. Like here's our field service department, admin, and then I have a team called internal projects. And then you can see underneath each team, there are what are called channels. So under the internal projects team, you've got every channel has every team has a general channel because that automatically gets created when you create the team. The rest of them you have to create. So I have internal projects and I've grouped them under communication apps, line of business apps, network and security, et cetera, et cetera. To create a team, you simply come down here at the bottom where it says join or create a team. And as long as you have permissions to do it, and by default, everyone's going to have permissions, I believe, but you can limit that to admins if you want. So you can join or create a team. And you can click the create a team here, and it lets you build it from scratch or create it from an existing team. And this would be like if you had a team you wanted to use as a template. So if you're doing projects and every project is going to have certain things in it, maybe a OneNote document for notes and a few other things you want to include in a template for kicking off a project, then you would create a template team, and then you can use this option to replicate that team to a new team when you're launching a new project. In this case, we'll select build from scratch. And then there's 3 types of teams. So a private team, people need permission to join, and they won't even see it or know it exists unless they've been invited to it. So this would be something you might use for doing employee reviews or something like that. Only people who need to know would have access to that team. A public team, they can't. If you're not a member of the team, you can't see the content, but you can see that the team exists. If you were to search teams, you would see that team exists, and you could request to join it. And the owner of the team, and you can have more than one owner of a team, and we recommend that you have at least 2. The owner of a team can give permission for that person to join. They can accept that join request. An org-wide team automatically enrolls everybody in your organization as part of that team, and it updates it automatically as people are added or removed from the organization. So org-wide team, everybody's automatically a member of it. So public team by and far is the most common way of creating a team. All right, so let's take a look at team administration. So once you have a team, we can come over here, click the 3 dots, and I can go manage my team. And you can see there's 2 owners, and that's what we recommend, having at least 2 owners. That way, if somebody is out of town, on vacation, whatever, then the other owner can handle administration requests like adding, removing people, etc. And then you have a list of members. So if you want to promote somebody to an owner, you would simply just come over here, click the drop down where it says member, and make them an owner, and they would move up here to owners. Same thing here, I can demote somebody, same way. So this is where you add, remove team members. You can click up here, and a team member. And again, there's some settings in the admin console that you're not seeing here, but the administrator of Office 365 can change certain settings. But if allowed, you can invite federated people to join a team, and you can also invite what are called guest users to join the team. So a guest user is somebody who doesn't have a Teams account. It's somebody completely outside the organization, and they don't even have a Teams account. So you can invite guest users to participate in a team and share in its content. All right, so let's take a look at channels. So each of these are channels, and a channel is where all the content lives. So content being chats, files, wikis, notes, lots of stuff can be content, right? Meetings, so you can have historical information on meetings that team has had, and they're organized by channel. As the owner of the team, you can create channels by right-clicking on the team and clicking Add a Channel. And you would give the channel a name, description if you want. And there's two types of channels. There's standard and private, and I don't believe you can change them after you create it. So if you create a private channel, it's going to remain private, and vice versa. If you create a standard channel, it's going to remain standard. The difference is, as I mentioned, by default, everyone who's part of a team automatically has access to everything, all channels within that team and all content within those channels. The exception being if you mark a channel private, you can then specify a subgroup of members of that team that would have access to this channel. Where you might want to do that is if you do have external people like federated users or guest users that are also part of this team, there might be certain content you don't want to share with those external users. So you would create a private channel to keep that content secure. All right, so let's take a look at a channel and what exists in a channel. So by default, when you create a channel, it creates 3 tabs at the top. It creates posts, files, and a wiki. And then you can add other tabs. So I've done that, like here. Here's my server consolidation and infrastructure channel. I've created a tab called VMlist, which is actually a spreadsheet, and we'll come back to that in a second. So within the channel, you have your posts, and the posts are really just chats, and they're available to anybody in that channel. So rather than sending an email blast out to 10, 15 people, I can post to this channel, and that's available to everyone in that channel. So these are conversations within that channel. So if I come down here at the bottom, and this is something to be careful of, and I just start typing, like if I see something somebody typed here and I want to respond to it, if I just start typing at the bottom here, it's actually going to start a new conversation. It's not going to reply to his conversation. So that's something to be careful of. You want to come up here and you want to actually click reply on the conversation you're replying to.
Mm-hmm.
That way it keeps things organized. All right, so like I said, this is a lot like chat, but let's talk about a couple of other things you might use here more than you would in chat, though all this stuff can be used in chat as well. You have something called an @mentioned where I can type @Trevor, and I'm sure if you guys are on Facebook or something, or Twitter or whatever, you're familiar with the @mention thing. But if I were to type something here, like that, Trevor's going to get notified that I just did an @mention of him on this thread. That way it brings it to his attention. You can see he got notified.
Yeah, I didn't see where you did the at.
It's right here
mention.
in the reply, and it could be in a new conversation, doesn't matter where, but right here in where you would just start typing, you do the at symbol
Oh,
and
yeah.
then person's name.
Okay, and did you say that Trevor got an email?
If he hadn't responded, he gets a notification that pops up on his screen. And
Right,
if he doesn't respond, he'll get an email.
right. That there's a time delay on that as long as it's in
Yeah.
operative in the settings.
Right. So yeah, he'll get a notification and he'll get an email eventually. Yeah. I mean, pretty quick. It's not too. And again, just like chat, you can hover over, you can do smileys, thumbs up, you can share to Outlook. So all the same good stuff you could do in chat. So there's another thing I want to show you, which is at praise. And you could do this in chat too, but it makes more sense in a team environment here. So if I wanted to do an at praise, I can do at praise, click it, select what kind of praise I want to do here. So let's say a thank you. And then I can add multiple people to this if I wanted to. If I wanted to say Trevor, Jeanette, and then
Yeah,
a little note.
Trevor would be a good person to send the praise to.
Too kind, too kind.
So then you can click preview and it's going to show you what it looks like, and I'll send it. So that just added this to this team chat or post conversation, so everybody can see it that I just gave them praise. So it's a good way to give attaboys to your team if they did something good or whatever. That's a good way to communicate that out there.
Does does that function at praise also work just in chats?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
And John, what about if somebody really screws up, and is there something, instead of an attaboy, can you kind of horsewhip him for pulling some boner on a job?
I would make free use of the memes and the stickers on that one. You can get creative, no problem.
All right.
Anyways, or just get sarcastic.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the post conversation chat feature. It's very useful. It's each channel has its own. And you can see when there's something waiting for your attention, it gets black and tells you have one waiting there for you. So you can see it, and there it is. All right, moving on. So there's a file section here. You can see I have a file that I've uploaded, and I mentioned that these files, they get back-ended in SharePoint. So when I create a team, let me bring SharePoint over here. When I create a team, it automatically creates a team site for that team. So that the team is called internal projects. So there's a team site that automatically gets created. I don't have to do anything. It just gets done behind the scenes. And the people who are members of that team automatically are granted access through a group membership to this team site. The other thing that happens is it creates a document folder for each channel. So if we look at the server consolidation channel, there's the document library, there's my file, that's where it actually lives. So I can open it up from here, I can just go to SharePoint and open it up. I can do versioning, maintenance, whatever I want to do with the file in SharePoint. Easier not to have to worry about that. But if I come back over here to Teams, you'll notice there's a button up here that says open in SharePoint, and that'll actually just open that site up. It'll show me that file where it lives in SharePoint. But for the most part, I'm just going to deal with it from here. And if it's a really important file like it is, this is an important file to me, I'm going to go ahead and pin it to the tabs up here, which I did. And if I click on it, you'll see I don't even need to open an app. It automatically gives me all my controls up here to manage this file and edit it right here within the Teams client. So I never have to leave the Teams client. I just click on that tab and I'm in that file editing it. And like if Trevor were to go here, which he did, see here's Trevor's in it at the same time as me. I can see Trevor's messing around with my file, putting in notes. But this is my master file for this project, which is my server consolidation. You can see we had a lot of servers. I'm retiring a lot of them. And this is information on what we're doing to retire those servers, along with notes and stuff like that. So this is kind of my go-to document for this channel.
Yeah, and if that Excel file is saved, I'll just say somewhere in your documents, and
again,
as you're updating it here, is it then updated as well it's the same file someplace else?
So when I upload it to Teams, it puts it, remember what I said in SharePoint. So it moved that file, it put a copy of that file here. So this is where the file now lives. So the file we're editing is this version right here. The one that lives in SharePoint on the internal projects team site in this document library.
Okay, so that's the only place where it's living now, at least in that version.
This version only lives there, yeah. So when we edit it and it auto-saves, it does auto-save. It's editing that version, the one in SharePoint. That's the only version that matters now. Other versions don't get updated.
Okay.
This is the only version that we care about now, is the one that lives in SharePoint. And just to give you peace of mind, files that live in SharePoint are automatically backed up twice a day with I think it's a 12-day retention. So, and then there's also versioning, so that you can turn on for any SharePoint library. So
No, I'm sorry. You said a 12-day retention. So what happens after the 12 days? You lose the file? Or am I misunderstanding?
you're probably misunderstanding. So
Okay.
if you have to recover the file from backup, let's say you got a virus or something, you're going to know it hopefully sooner than 12 days, and you'll go get it. It's not going to just go away unless you delete it.
Okay.
And even then it goes into the, the trash where you can recover it.
You can recover. Okay.
For a
Thank
certain
you.
amount of time. But no, it doesn't just go away. It'll stay there forever. I guess as long as you pay your bills. It'll stay there.
Did you just say as long as you pay your bills?
To Microsoft, it's
Oh,
I don't know. I imagine, I know they give you 30 days to recover stuff, even if you don't pay your bills. So if you were to let something, let a license expire for a given user, and then you reactivate them within 30 days, their data is still going to be there. So they give you a 30-day grace on that. But if you were to let all your licenses expire for more than 30 days, you'd probably lose all your data, unless you really begged or something. Anyways, we got a little off track there. So let's go back here. So this is how, the way you can pin a file up there is to click this little plus symbol right here. And because this is an Excel file, I would select the Excel app. So these are a bunch of apps you can pin up there. Most of these are third-party apps, like probably, unless you're a larger mid-size or enterprise company, maybe many of these you haven't even heard of, such as, some of them may have, but most of these are like Confluence is like a help desk type app, Jira. So these are things we see in some larger companies, and there's also some stuff that are smaller stuff there, but they're third-party apps that you may want to pin there because your team uses them for whatever reason, like ticketing or something like that. And then Microsoft has a bunch of common apps for stuff that belong to it. So like if you wanted to put a OneNote document, and I've done that in several of my channels, where I want to keep common notes on something. I'll show you that in a minute. In this case, it's an Excel document, and I already have to have the file up there. So then I would select it like that, save. And you can see it creates it, it just calls it Excel. So you'd have to rename it to something more logical to you. In this case, I'm going to remove that pen since I already have it there. Okay, and then the last thing that they give you here is a wiki. And I won't go into too much detail, but basically it keeps an index over here on the left of pages you can create. So you can create new pages. You can link pages by going in and copying the link and then going into a document and inserting the link. So if I click here, where is, I have to edit the article. Hold on, let's go into an article. Come on. So I can go into an article and I can just insert a link by clicking the insert link and then pasting that link in there. So it's a wiki app. This is kind of good for creating like knowledge bases and stuff like that. Where do I want to? Wanted to show you the. If I go, like here, we did a. I pinned a OneNote document up here. And so, you know, these are just a way of tracking notes that we have around things like that. Okay. So that's the team stuff in general. Any questions on teams and channels before we move on to meetings, calls and meetings?
John, this is Mark Lazier, and I understand we have 12 minutes left.
We can go long if you want, but
well, using that as the guide that I know is available as of this moment,
yeah.
I want to make sure that I clicked on the link and I was available at 1:57, and somehow the link didn't work. So I unfortunately logged on a few minutes late. So I don't know what you talked about, but the first thing I want to ask is, or get clarified is, does everyone know how to get on their laptop to what you're seeing now, which is MS Teams?
So Teams should have been pushed down to you. I would, you know, if it isn't, you can go up to, you can go to log into portal.office.com using your Office 365 credentials, which should be the same as your Active Directory credentials, and download the app.
Okay.
Teams app is also available. I didn't mention this, but it's good that you brought it up. It's also available as a mobile app for both the iOS and Android platforms. So if you have an iPhone or a tablet that you want to install it on, it's a good idea. I keep it on my iPhone and my iPad and use it from all those places. And almost all the features are available on the mobile platform that are available here in the desktop client.
So John, this is Keith. I have Teams on I use it every day for the last couple of weeks on my Office PC, and I have it on my iPhone. It works fine. When I clicked the meeting link, it did not, even though Teams was open on and I'd been using it. When I clicked it, it said choose an application. He says or download Teams. Well,
so let me click on it and show you what I see in mine when what happens, which is the right way, which is what you're supposed to see. If you're not seeing that, then we'd have to troubleshoot it. But let me bring up my meeting here. Hold on.
Yeah, mine did the same as Keith's.
Well, hold on.
Sure.
So if you click on where it says join Microsoft Teams meeting. That's where you clicked, right?
Yep.
What it does is it pops a browser to something that looks like this.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't see
Right.
this up here where it says open in Microsoft Teams,
Right. I did not because I was already open.
no,
I
I've got Teams open and I'm actually presenting on it right now.
okay.
If this didn't pop up, then your application association isn't working right. So there's something that needs to be fixed. So if you didn't see this open Microsoft Teams box on top of this browser,
Mhm.
then something's not right on your computer. It didn't register the Teams app correctly. So it either needs to be reinstalled or we just need to fix the association for the app because it's not seeing that it's there.
Yeah, and then when you click on Open Microsoft Teams, it sends you to a link and you just say open link.
No, you just click here and it actually literally opens the meeting in the Teams client.
Okay,
There's nothing else to do. So if you click on this button right here,
yeah,
it just opens the meeting in the Teams client and it takes you right to the right spot to be.
Yeah.
So
okay,
if you're not seeing this, then there's some misconfiguration on your computer.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
It just happened 3 times in a row. So I assume that there is a bad association. I didn't install, this, so I don't know how.
It's not going to be hard to fix. I can tell you that. Literally just reinstalling the Teams client would probably fix it.
Now, what if it never shows, in mine, when I bring it up, never shows the little symbol at the bottom, the little team symbol at the bottom of the
This one
screen?
right here,
So you know if someone's trying to get hold of you or not? Yeah.
or you're talking about the tray. It's on my tray is on a different window.
well, no,
Yeah.
just show her it again.
I don't
John.
know.
The first thing that you
if you have
got
an
there,
if
there,
Teams
right?
is open, you'll have it here on your bottom.
It doesn't. It is now, but it wasn't before. It wasn't before. I've had it open all day and it wasn't there.
Yeah,
It can hide, but it'll still be in your tray. Let me I'm gonna have to share a different screen to show you that. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to stop sharing for just a brief
Well,
second.
mine was hiding.
Okay, so let me share my other screen so you can see my tray. So down here, this is my primary screen. So my tray looks like this. This is called your tray.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And there's a little arrow that points up. If you click the arrow that points up, let me move this.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I see.
There's a little Teams icon right there.
Uh-huh.
That should always be there. The one that's
Okay.
the one that's on the bottom would only be there if you had an active open window. But if your Teams is running in the background, you'll see this icon here
Mhm.
in the tray. This is called your tray.
So if you have it open, it should show on the bottom. So
you have-
would you
If you have
click
an
on
active
that
open
tray?
window, if you have an active open window, let me switch back over. If you have an active open window, you will see it. You should see it down here. Like if you're in a
it's
meeting right
not
now,
there-
you should see this right here.
Okay, and if it's not there, then what's wrong? Then you need to click on the tray? Do I need to click on the tray if it's not?
If it's open, like this shows all my applications that are open. You can see Chrome, Firefox,
Yeah,
Notepad++. Active windows should all show down here. If they're not showing down there, there might be something wrong with your computer. I don't know. But any window that's active that you're using should be on this bottom line of things, or you'll have a little arrow here. Like if you filled it up, sometimes you fill it up, like you have more things open than can fit down here. You'll see a little arrow, or whatever, that you can click on to get to the rest of them.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, let me also bring up that when Celia apparently has the application of Teams open, her status never changes.
We're going to get to status here at the end, hopefully. We're running out of time.
All right.
I don't know if you guys have a hard stop. I can go a little bit longer. So, but status is managed up here. I did want to get to actually scheduling meetings and doing calls.
Okay,
But
sure.
status is managed through here. It usually auto changes based on what your calendar says. Like if your calendar has you in a meeting.
Okay.
John, we can't see where your cursor is. There's nothing.
You know what? I'm back on. I got to reshare the other screen. I was switching between screens again. Hold on, because I was trying to show you different stuff. But okay, let me get back to where okay. So up here, where you see my face,
Yeah.
you should each have something like that
Yeah.
in the Teams window. If you click on that, here's my status. I can hover over it and I can change it. I can also click on reset. Reset takes it back where it'll auto detect your status. And that's what's happening right now with me. It's auto detecting my status. It says I'm presenting, so it automatically puts me in do not disturb. See the little red dot with the line in it?
Mhm.
Because I'm presenting my desktop, it assumes I don't want to have pop-up notifications and stuff going on while I'm
Mhm.
doing a presentation to clients or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So it puts me in do not disturb mode by default.
Okay.
If I want to override that, I can just come over here and select busy. Now I'll be able to get pop-up notifications if somebody sends me a chat or something like that.
And then if you want to have it go back to auto, which is what I recommend for most people,
Correct.
you just go to reset status.
Just go to reset status and you'll see it'll put me back to do not disturb.
Okay. Well, I can be on a call on Teams with Celia, and her status will say it'll be the yellow one, which is
So
away.
perhaps she needs to do the reset. Maybe she set herself away at one point and never set it back. So she
Okay.
probably needs to go and do a reset. That would
Okay.
be the first thing I would try.
Okay.
There's other things you can do here since we're in here. That's your status, but you also have something called a status message.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, if maybe you want people to kind of leave you alone for most of the day, you could say I'm maybe doing interviews today. So people know that what your activity is, and you really want to be lightly disturbed unless it's urgent, right? So you can put a little message up there. And then this is new. Skype didn't have this, but Teams does, where you can actually put a time to live on that message. So it automatically clears.
Oh, cool.
So I can say, 1 hour, I want it to go away, 4 hours today, this week, whatever. So that's a neat feature, useful. So people can understand why you're saying, I'm busy or whatever, right? All right, so coming back to calls, let's go back to calls here. All right, so if you look here, I've got a number of speed dials. I can add speed dials, but basically anything that was already in my favorites when I migrated from Skype came over into my speed dials. I can also create a group that can be an Active Directory group, and I can add that. When we do a call, you can do a video call, you can do an audio call, or you can drop this down and do a chat. So, but normally if you're going to chat with someone, you're going to come over here. I just wanted to point this out. So J4 is using this as our phone system, so I actually can dial a PSTN number here. That requires a little more setup to get it to work as a phone system and a little bit more licensing. But I can actually call phone numbers, or if any of my contacts have a phone number, I can just click on that.
We've lost you.
Yeah, that was my fault. I shouldn't have clicked.
And are you saying you can make Skype calls from the calls section?
So you can make Skype calls now. Basically Skype calls, yeah, team to team, peer-to-peer calls. You have the licensing to do that, but you can't do. I can actually call PSTN calls because I'm licensed to, so I can call somebody's cell phone or something like that.
Okay.
Because we've got it set up to do that. But and I can receive phone calls to my phone number. So my phone number, that's my desktop phone number, 303-78201. So if somebody dials that, that's going to ring on my Teams client. And also the Teams client I have on my cell phone. So I can make and receive phone calls from my desk phone number using my cell phone, which is kind of cool because that way, some people will capture your mobile number and maybe you don't want them to have it, like an insurance agent or something like that.
Yeah.
So I could just make the call from my desk number instead. And then any inbound calls coming into my, my office number, I know kind of what to look for there, right? So nice little trick. But anyways, yes, I can make Skype to Skype calls even with federated people. So you guys could call me if you had, my SIP address is john@j4systems.com. So if you were to just type somebody's SIP address in here, which is usually their email address, I can actually call that and it will make a phone call to her. But
Mhm.
if I do it, it's going to disconnect me again. So I'm not going to do it. So it doesn't have to be a phone number. And you guys can do that without the PSTN licensing. You can do SIP to SIP calls that way. All right. And then video calls kind of work the same way. And so, and then once you're in a call, you can add people to it. So you can make 3-way, 4-way calls, basically turning them into conferences, right?
Yeah.
Because once you're in a call, like we are now, this conference, I can come over here and I can add people to it by clicking this little icon here. This is the chat. So when I'm in a call, I can do chat here. And then if you click on the 3 dots, and this would be a meeting or a call, you can let's go to meetings. But when you click on the 3 dots, one of the nice things you'll see behind me, a scene from Star Wars. You're not seeing my cluttered office, but if I were to, I've got show background effects here.
Oh, yeah, right.
If I were to turn that off, you'll see, let me turn it off. Come on. Oh, apply. There's my cluttered office.
Oh, okay, yeah, uh-huh.
But I don't want to show that, so I'm going to do something different, right?
Mhm.
And you can upload your own pictures up there. Let me find the location. You do that too. Yeah, right here. Or no. I have it here somewhere.
So if Keith wants to upload a picture of his backyard that
He
was
could.
taken just before a big event that he held some years ago, he can just have
Yeah, I'm going
that
to give you.
showing behind
Yeah,
him.
I'm going to give you the location for that. I got to find it. Hold on.
And it's interesting, you can make a call out of chat as well as calls.
Yeah, so I was gonna get to that, but yeah, chat. This is probably where I would normally do it. I would, if I'm in a chat with somebody, I want to turn it into a voice call. I just come
Yeah.
up here, click the phone button. That's what I would do, versus going to calls. I don't, the only time I go to calls is if I'm actually doing a phone call with, where I want to type in a phone number. But
Or
again,
you don't want to hold a phone in your hand.
yeah. Well, I work from home a lot nowadays for some reason. And I don't have a physical phone home. I just have a headset.
Yeah.
So you have that nice background, yeah.
Okay, I'm not, okay, let me find this. Let's see, Teams.
Yeah, that's really not that, well, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, I know. It's,
I just want to make sure everyone on this call has a better understanding of how to just get on this program if they're not on it.
Okay, so
I don't know how to even get on it. I look at my phone and there's Teams, but
Oh,
I
you-
don't get anything else.
So you got by the way, your thing, so you go like that and turn off the flashlight.
Oh, okay.
all
I don't know
right, so now I'm going to cover
Right.
meetings. So if you click on the calendar, so in the chat, by the way, I did put the location where you can copy custom photos up that you want to use as a background. So if you
Okay.
just use that link I put in the chat window, that's where you put custom
Oh,
photos.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so if I click on the calendar icon here, you can see, it's actually just showing my Exchange calendar. And on that are some meetings. So here's the one we're on right now, and it gives me the option to join it. I can create a new meeting here, but the normal way to create a new meeting is actually in Outlook. This is the way I normally do it. So I would normally go to, let me bring it over.
So your
Right.
Outlook calendar,
My
right?
Outlook calendar, and there's a button that gets created when you install Teams. If you don't have it, then we need to reinstall Teams. But it'll say new Teams meeting. So I can just put my, just like creating any other meeting, I would just put my cursor where I want it. And click the new Teams meeting, and you can see it automatically populates the Connect stuff on the bottom here.
Mm.
And I can give it a title and invite people to it. So
Mhm.
like that. Now, a nice little trick is if you're inviting a bunch of people and you don't want the other people to see each other's email addresses, you can click where it says required here. And instead of putting their name under required, put it under resources.
Mm.
So I can put
Yeah,
an
that
email
would
address.
be for more outside of the company, like federation.
Correct. Or guests. They don't have to join a meeting. They don't have to even have Teams. They don't have to. They can use, like you saw that window that came up. You can
Oh.
you can join by the web using the web client. And there's
That's
nothing to even install. It's HTML5, so there's nothing to even install. They can just join using the web client. So this is just like Zoom, like any of those other ones. You can have meetings and people can join it. They don't have to have Teams or anything like that.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So you can invite a bunch of people, like let's say you're going to do a webinar. You can invite a bunch of people, put them under the resources here.
Mhm.
And when I click OK, it's going to ask me, do you want to update the location, since it was a resource, to include that? And that would defeat the purpose. So you would say no to that question.
Mhm.
But you'll see Bob's name, it shows up under required, but if I click on required, he's actually under resources.
Mhm.
And now when I send that out, other people on the invite won't see Bob's email,
Mm.
which is sometimes important depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
You also have, because this is an exchange, you have all the, the stuff you would normally get with that, like scheduling assistant. You can look at schedules if you have access to them, and pick a time that everyone's available, that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think the benefit here is it works within Outlook and looking at everybody's calendar.
Yeah, so that's a good way to do it. That's the way I normally do it. But you can also create meetings from here. If we drop the little drop down here, you'll have a choice between scheduled meetings and live event. Live event is designed for really large meetings, and it's not interactive. So we wouldn't be talking to each other. You could
Right.
chat with me, but it scales to 10,000 people. It's really meant for really large meetings,
Yeah.
where you're presenting to a large group for like what they call company-wide meetings, whatever, in really large companies.
I need to say something because I basically missed the first chapter because we were not getting on it in time. And all these things are wonderful, but way over my head. I just would like to log on to Team. Just a simple thing. How do I do it? And I don't have that information.
Okay,
And
so the Teams client has to be
yeah.
Teams client has to be installed on your computer, and then it'll
Can I have
come
it on my iPhone, please. I
or
don't
your
want.
iPhone, right? Okay, so it comes
Well,
up. It'll
also,
ask you.
excuse me, also on her iPad. She needs it on 3 devices.
So yeah, and that's easy to do. You just go to the App Store and you search for Teams,
Well,
Microsoft Teams,
This is Teams right here.
and then it should ask you for login information, which will be your email address typically,
It's right there.
and then your
On it.
your
Okay, let's just go through it for one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You see, I got rid of it. Let's just get rid of it. So there's no apps thing. So there's your screen.
Right, and there's this.
And there's
I
Teams
press
on
on
it.
that.
Yeah, you just push your
Yeah, I
finger.
have done that.
And now there's the chat that is in it. You just scroll down to the bottom. That's the most, probably the most recent one. Yes, that's the most recent thing.
And then on the bottom here,
So we can go through this part. That's if that paperclip is if you want to attach a file, and you're in the group chat thing. But when I just tap to the group chat, KYD group chat at the top, right there, it takes me to this thing where there's 9 participants in it. Those are those people.
so if I want to send something, what do I do next? Very basic questions.
All you have in here, I think, is that there's Adam, And here's the group chat, Celia and Shannon.
So
Mauricio.
write something to Celia so I can actually.
Okay, so I just tapped it, and down here, I typed in, hi Celia.
Okay.
This is a test. Okay, and then hit that little arrow. And now Celia should have just gotten something. Celia, are you there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you get notified on Teams that Hannah sent you a little chat message there?
No, I didn't, but I don't know if it's because this other thing is on my computer. You know, the demonstration.
I didn't get it.
Oh, Shannon, you did?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great.
Okay, so going back to creating meetings, so we showed you how to create it in Outlook. You can also create it here by clicking New Meeting. Same thing, you can give it a title, and you can invite people. But you don't have that option we talked about where you can do the resource. You don't have that option here in creating it here. But you do get the ability to look at scheduling assistant and pick a time. So you still have that. And one other nice feature here is you can add a channel. So if you want to associate this meeting with a specific channel, then that meeting goes, the history of that meeting goes to that channel, gets saved there, and people can go and reference it. So if you're doing chats within the meeting, that gets saved. If you record the meeting, then that would be saved there, and people could access it from there. So adding a channel is useful sometimes because it gives you a point of reference.
So where do you get all this to the left side?
Now you'll notice it doesn't automatically show the meeting join info, but as soon as I send this, it adds it. So it will be there. You don't have to worry about that. So all the join info does get added to the meeting after I send it.
Yeah, and is it your experience that the audio and video quality of Teams meetings is better than Skype, the same as Skype? Because Zoom is not impressive from a audio video quality perspective. Skype seems to have gotten much better lately.
So you'll know, so Microsoft did downgrade the video a little bit when this COVID stuff started because they got so many new users on board. They did downgrade it from HD to 720, but it's still pretty good. I mean, you're seeing it right now. It's not bad, and it'll probably go back up later, but I think it's pretty good personally. But it's not true HD anymore. It's 720 right now.
Oh, okay.
Good question though, but I think the audio is just fine.
Well,
Yeah,
this
we're
go
not fussy about audio, so who cares?
All right. And so, but I mean, if you want to get, if you want to have meetings with clients, I mean, this is something you already own. You don't have to sign up for it. You already have it. You can just create a meeting and invite anybody to it, and they can join. All they need is, even a browser on a tablet will work.
Yeah, I want to try it.
They don't need a special client or anything like that. And it's not hard to join. All right. So one of the things, after you've created a meeting, whether you've done it in Outlook or you've done it in the Teams client here, you can go back in from the Teams client by clicking on your calendar. You can edit that meeting, and there are things you can now change that you didn't have this option when you were creating the meeting. So you have to actually go back in to do it. But you have more stuff up here. You can see you've got things up here like I can upload files to the meeting before it starts.
Oh yeah.
I can create meeting notes. And now how do I get back where I was?
It's powerful.
Let's go back into the meeting. Okay, so one other thing you have here is meeting options. So when I click meeting options, it actually pops it up in a browser for that meeting. And I can change a few things, like if, these are the default settings you're seeing here. Who can bypass the lobby? So you guys, we were admitting you as you came into the lobby, but I could have said everyone automatically gets admitted. There's a security issue there in that anybody with the link could then just join your meeting. You remember that Zoom security issue, something like that, where people were bombing Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
You leave the risk open if you do that, but I could set it so that everybody automatically gets entered. And sometimes I do that for really large meetings, like if I got 50 people and I just don't want to sit there and click admit,
Oh, yeah.
I'll do that. There's other little things like whether you want the callers announced as they come in, and then who can present. By default, everyone's allowed to be a presenter, but let's say I was doing a meeting that's more of a presentation like this. You might just set that people in your organization can present and everyone else is just an attendee. They can't share their screen and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so those are some settings you can do after you've created the meeting. You come back in and you click on meeting options. All right, so the last thing I'm going to cover is just some meeting controls. And we talked about it a little before, but basically show participants gives you the list of participants. And then over here, you can remove a participant or just mute them. So if somebody's got a loud background noise coming on, you can kind of see which microphone's vibrating and you can come over here and just mute them. You can also do a mute all. That'll mute everybody but you. So when you click mute all, it doesn't mute your own, but it'll mute everybody else. And that's useful.
Only you have access to that functionality?
I think all the presenters do. Do you see it? You guys are all presenters. Do you see mute all?
Yeah.
Well, we see your screen. That's what we're
No.
looking
If you were to go to your bar here, see your little bar? Click on the participant screen. And do you see a mute all up there?
Oh, yes. Uh-huh. I see. Okay.
So everybody who's a presenter has that option.
Okay.
If I made you an attendee, you wouldn't see it.
Got it.
But that's a quick way of muting everyone. If you're getting, sometimes somebody gets some feedback, you get that squeal.
Yeah.
We go here and mute all. Or if somebody's got a dog barking or something like that and you need
Or
to.
somebody's taking the call while they're driving.
Yeah, driving or other things.
Hey, guys, I have to drop off. I'm supposed to be on another call right now, but you're in good hands with John. So
Thank you, Jeanette.
no, thank you. We appreciate your business. You guys hang in there.
Thank you very much. You too.
It was in the news the other day that one of the Supreme Court justices had a flushing incident on a call.
Oh God.
One of the Supreme, I can't remember which one, but one of the Supreme Court justices they were doing a conference, conference.
Yeah.
And one of them had a flushing incident.
They were in the toilet and he hit the thing and everybody could hear. That sounds like
it's like no one knows what the mute button is. My God.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Clarence, get a grip.
That's funny.
So that stuff does happen today. All right, and we went over this a little bit, but here, if you click on the 3 dots in your bar, this is where you can start recording, and the recording gets saved to your streams. You'll get a notification and a link to go in and edit it or whatever, and you can either download it and share it to YouTube or share it people within your organization can access it within streams.
Yeah, and are we going to get a link to this recording?
So what's going to happen is Trevor's going to download it and move it to YouTube so you guys can get access to it and send you the link.
Very good.
The background effects I already showed you. This is where you can turn it into full screen, show meeting details, meeting notes, so you can take notes on the meeting while it's going on. And then this is where you can change your device settings, which is, are you using your PC speakers or your headset?
Yeah.
So the meeting notes, another little screen comes up where you can type on it?
Yeah, literally it's saved with the meeting. So again, this meeting doesn't go away. It's persistent. You can go back and look at those notes. So here's the meeting, meeting notes. Here's the meeting notes. I don't have any notes yet, but I
Yeah.
could start taking notes as we're doing the meeting. And then
Oh, that's
those notes get saved with the meeting so people can go back in and reference them.
okay.